Welcome to DDL. I'm Justin. This is T. We're going to get into it.
Hey, it worked. Ish. Welcome, everybody, to Main Event Mondays. And I think this is going to be a good one, personally. You watched the debate.
Yeah.
I watched the debate.
I watched most of it.
I watched all of it. I won. Sorry. Continue on like last week.
You want to pretend like you influenced it? Okay.
So, yeah. I think you might be the winner on this one. Yeah. Okay. So, do we want to start with just our overview, final thoughts? Who do you think won, and then start breaking down the nuances of this? Because there was a lot in that debate that could be talked about, that should be talked about. Overall, I'm wondering, is that where you think we should start there?
Sure.
Who do you think won that debate?
Honestly, I think they both won in their own ways.
Okay.
I think Kamala actually presented herself as a normal human.
Okay.
Close to an hour, which I've yet to see from her. It was the most coherent she's been all in one sitting.
Did she cackle?
I
I don't recall a single
the
cackle.
looks were wild, but ultimately, at the end of the day, that was the most composed I've ever seen her in any sort of setting. Even when she has softball questions and she knows what's coming, this was actually the most composed I've seen her. So in that way, she won, not necessarily the debate, but at least public perception, because it's like, okay, she's not a complete moron.
Okay.
So, but it's funny because I think Trump stepped on his own toes throughout the debate, but the closing argument that he had, which one of my friends directed me to watch, because I told him I tapped out like with maybe 10, 15 minutes left, and he said, watch the closing arguments. And I think the closing arguments, he really nailed it. And honestly, what do people remember in debates? Number one, your opener. Number two, any big owns that you had during it, and number three, your closing arguments. And sometimes the closing arguments is bigger than everything else.
Yep.
And so for that, I think, would I say Trump won the debate throughout? No. But the closer was the most important part, and he nailed that.
Okay.
But yeah, it was, I'd say there's a couple minor victories for both of them in the debate. What are your thoughts?
So I was not expecting you to give that response.
Yeah.
Because I was actually going to be giving that response as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I was, if I were to have to pick a winner, I don't know if I could. Because looking at it from a political perspective, Kamala did win the night. She was much more composed. She was much more, she basically did exactly what she needed to do. She came across like a human. Mm-hmm. There was one aspect she did not do, which is convey to the American people what her plan actually is.
Right.
So from a political pundit perspective, I would say Kamala was the winner. However, I don't think the political pundit class really has a choice in this, because if we look at the independent voter, which is the important person that we're looking at in this election, they overwhelmingly went with Trump. And Trump had, again, he had a decent opening. He did have some pretty catchy one-liners. Yeah. They're eating the dogs.
And
Excuse me, I'm talking.
Right. And again, whether or not that whole thing's true, because I've heard people, it's absolutely, yeah, it's true. And I saw it. No, it's absolutely not true. It doesn't matter, because now it's a meme.
Yeah.
So if it's a meme on the internet, it's real, and it doesn't matter.
Twitter's going galore with it. I mean, they already got the freaking AI generated freaking Trump cats carrying the freaking AR-15s and whatnot.
Cats with MAGA hats.
It's done.
Sorry.
Trump won.
Yeah.
And then I would agree with you. Trump's closing. So I was listening to Ian Crossland, and he and I watched, or he watched it, I watched it. He was giving his breakdown on it, and I'm sitting here thinking, did we watch the same damn debate and the closing? Because he thought it came across as very underhanded, very, what, and I'm just sitting here like, I thought it was very powerful.
Mhm.
He was telling the American voter, she's been there. She keeps telling you she's going to make it better. She's there right now. Wake up, Joe.
Yeah.
You know what? Go wake him up. Get it done right now. And I thought that was pretty powerful. Like that closing was actually a pretty good closing.
Well, and it goes back to, even the indicators for who was going to win the election. It was I forget the gentleman's name. The 13 questions that we broke apart.
Oh yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, not
Yeah,
important.
Larry something or another.
Yeah.
Something.
But it goes back to, while she isn't technically the president, which he was wrong on that question, the perception is she's the one in power. She has helped to preside over the worst failure over our border, over our economy in American history. And so the perception is still there. Now, she's not technically the president, but any vice president that's worth their salt is going to be able to say, hey, I at least have some plans here. Take a look. And it's funny that she's now trying to be like, oh, I have great economic plans for the future. And it's like, did you want to run one or two of those by the guy that you're sharing an office with? Like, I just come on. Like,
So you brought up a few things that made me think of certain things. Joe Biden. You brought up Joe Biden wearing the MAGA hat the very next day. Joe Biden supported Donald Trump.
It's funny because I know he put it on as ha 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 ha, like a mocking type of thing. But
or a unity kind of moment,
right.
Possibly.
But I heard somebody say, when they forced him out, he does not care anymore.
Yep.
And so I don't think he ever necessarily liked Kamala. What did he say when he had her as his presidential candidate pick? He said, I'm picking her because she's a woman and she's black. That's what he said, not what I said. That's what he said. So he's never liked her from the beginning. He picked her because he felt like he had to.
She was a DEI pick.
Yes.
100%.
Admittedly by him.
Well, yeah.
So
During his whole campaign, when he got the nomination, his whole campaign said it will be a woman of color.
Right. And so
they announced they were going to do a DEI pick.
Yeah.
So that left only a few options, and Kamala was at the top of that list,
Yeah.
which made no sense because Kamala straight up called Joe Biden a racist during the primaries.
Well, that's how you prove you're not one.
No.
Do what they ask. But all of that to say, I think he does not like Kamala at all, and I think he's just like, okay, you guys forced me out. I don't care anymore.
Yeah, I'm not going to help you. Yeah.
And he wasn't angry about it, but he's like,
He's doing
I'm
that.
on a retirement tour.
He's on that passive aggressive. Yeah, 100%. So you made me think of that. The next thing you made me think of is the one thing, and I actually give this as a win for Kamala, is she did a very excellent job of avoiding the landmines of linking herself directly to Joe Biden in that debate.
In the debate, yeah, but again, I go back to...
Well, I'm speaking the confines of the debate. I agree with you 100%.
Well,
outside of the debate, she's linked to him wholeheartedly. She did an excellent job. That's why I said I think she won from a political perspective. She did a great job in that stuff.
The problem with that is she didn't tie herself to Joe Biden, but Trump wouldn't let it go. He made sure to remind, hey, this stuff is... So even if she avoided that stuff, Trump was like, no, y'all are doing this.
Yep.
So,
no, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
I'm just giving her the kudos she deserves for stepping around those political landmines.
But then I go back to, what have you done the last 4 years? Hey, I'm not
I don't disagree with you.
No. I'll work on it in the future.
100%. That's why Trump did do well as well, because he put the pressure on her when he needed to, and he was holding it accountable. Did it hit as hard? No, some of it came. He stepped on more political landmines than she did.
I don't know that he stepped on more landmines. The problem with him was more so that he kept trying to bring everything back to immigration. Which, look, immigration is a huge deal. We literally have open borders where people who are from Russia, China, North Korea, literal enemies of America, can just walk in. So it is important, but he tried to tie everything back to it. And I think that's sort of where, if he would have been a little bit more focused, I think that was his only shortcoming, was he wasn't quite as focused as he normally is. But the way that he normally handles people, where he had the moment with Hillary Clinton. If I was a president, I'd lock you up too, and Trump lost it. Like, he didn't have any viral.
Do you want
like
someone
that
that has the temperament of Donald Trump being president? Well, you'd be in prison or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, so
so
you
he didn't have any of those big home run moments.
You don't think so?
Not as far as something like that.
Excuse me, I'm talking. That in and of itself is on the same caliber as you'd be in prison.
I don't equate it, because it didn't stick out. You said it twice, and I was like, oh yeah, he did say that.
Really?
Yeah. It didn't.
Interesting. That was the I think the reason it stuck out the most to me is because she was the one that wanted to get that to him, and she failed. He turned it. He turned it around and used her weapon of choice against her.
Right.
And I think that's why it stuck so much with me.
It stuck out less to me than even. I don't know what he just said. I don't even think he knows what he just said.
Really?
I feel like
interesting.
It doesn't quite stick out. Now, for me, it is actually a good thing, because in that first debate, he kind of had to set the table.
Uh-huh.
And if he would have had a knockout blow like that, it would have come across as, I think it wouldn't have landed in the way that the Republicans would have wanted. I think the independent perception would have been like, oh, that was kind of mean. But this,
really,
yeah,
okay.
I think having that first debate where he didn't say anything mean, and now if she says something in the next debate and he comes back with something mean, then it will be like, oh, he got her. But if he would have come to this debate with one of those kind of knockout blows, I think it would have come across as like, whoa, we were
expecting
fair fight
yeah. Oh.
So I think it was very tactful of him to
Interesting.
not have too many of those big moments. And that one, as much as I told you, I forgot about it twice. I think that's the correct
way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's an interesting take. I'd not take it that way. Excuse me. Which is one reason why these debates are so important, I think, is because people pick up different things and they interpret things differently, right? So I thought there were a few. While I stand by what I originally said. I think Kamala. God, I don't know why I'm doing that. Kamala is, from the political perspective, the winner of that debate. There was downfall she had, and when I say she avoided more landmines than Donald Trump, I'll tell you exactly why I think Donald Trump has a very big ego. Now, without that ego, you're not going to.
The biggest. It's huge.
People say it's the best. Not me, people.
I would never say that. They're saying it about me.
So he has an extremely large ego. Now, don't get me wrong. I know a lot of people are Trump fans out there. More power to you. And I'm going somewhere with this. Trump's ego is necessary for Trump. Trump would not be Trump without his ego. Unfortunately, it's a double-edged sword, because when Trump feels that his ego is being threatened in any way, shape, or form, like Kamala did a few times with the people are leaving his rallies, what did he focus on at that point? He went off on maybe a minute-long tirade about how people love his rallies. They're the best rallies ever.
Well, and that's where I said he wasn't staying on top.
Exactly. Yeah. I kind of figured that's where you're going with that, and I'm just now trying to highlight the political landmine that Trump stepped on.
Right. You just blow past that. Be like, how many rallies have you held in the last month? Anyway.
I was at a rally. I got shot in the ear. One of my attendants died, and nobody left.
Right, and those are the fact that he got shot a month and a half ago. Oh, he needs to play to that. And
the funny thing,
because it is the most sympathetic thing about him, he needs to hit on that.
What I find funny, and you're making us go earlier into the commentator or the question. Those two lackeys that were sitting behind ABC's desk. I wanted to touch base with them because you could obviously see the bias. They were fact checking hard on Trump, but Kamala openly lied 3 lies within a span of like 20 seconds, and they didn't fact check a single one. Donald Trump had to fact check her for them.
Right.
But I did
wait,
find.
Was that the one where she accused him of? No, he didn't even. Sorry, I was thinking of the IVF thing.
No, yeah,
because that one wasn't even caught, even by Trump. But she said he wants to take away IVF, and that was literally the basis of one of the episodes of our show.
Yep.
It's like not only is he not taking it away, he's pushing for it. It's
yep.
Anyway, sorry.
But yeah, you can go back and watch that episode. It's actually a fairly good conversation. No, it was the Charlottesville hoax.
Right.
The crap. Now I'm blanking on the other ones. There was the bloodbath. Talking about the bloodbath, and what was the other one?
The January 6th.
Yes. So there was 3 lies that she said. All 3 have been debunked by mainstream media, even, which is insane. ABC,
pushed in the first place.
Yeah, but then ABC didn't even try fact checking it. Donald Trump had to sit there and fact check as soon as he got the time back, which was insane, because the commentators, especially that dude David, I think his name was. The only reason I remember it is because Trump kept saying David. I was like, what the hell, man? But like, he was trying to fact check Trump when there was no fact check. He was saying, well, you said that you thought when he brought up the fact that Kamala used to say that she's not black and now she's black, and Trump said something about like she used to say she wasn't black and now she says she's black. I don't really care about it. Well, why does that matter? It doesn't matter to me. Well, I feel like it matters because you said it. I'm just like, that's not fact checking, dude. That's you having an opinion. Like, he's sitting there telling you he doesn't care. He just thinks it's odd that she said she wasn't black and then that she is black, and then turns it over to Kamala. Well, I think it's wrong that you have to base people on the color of their skin. And I'm just like, the dude literally just said he didn't care. Like, what is wrong with you? He said.
That was honestly there was so many opportunities there. I think that she had to, like how you said she tried to distance herself. If she would have been more proactive with, here is the actual plan, it would have come across a lot better. And so that's why I don't think it was a knockout blow, or I don't think she won by any means, but that's why I say she won in the fact that she could speak coherently for an hour.
And she actually,
which I was impressed by.
She actually also kind of came across as a normal human being, like you said. I mean, she, for an hour, almost 2 hours, it was, this lady's actually, I mean, I think what she's saying is a bunch of crap, but she actually seems like she can hold her own. Well, maybe that's a fallacy, an expectation of, or having a low expectation because Joe Biden has been so bad.
Well, they've both been bad.
I know, but I guess in my mind, Kamala was always less than Joe Biden. But after Joe Biden's horrible performance, I was expecting Kamala to be down here, and she was actually and I'm like, I don't know if that was my expectation of her was so low. She actually exceeded it. I don't know.
He's at least been on the campaign trail, though. She hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
And so, I think if she really wanted to distance herself from Joe Biden, she should have said, here's where I have come to Joe and said this, and he had a disagreement with me. And so, ultimately, I'm going to respect our current president. However, this is exactly what I have been asking to do for the last 6 months or the last
two years, 3 years, whatever.
And this has been my plan. And hopefully we'll have the chance to roll this out once I get elected, and there's nobody in the way to say no. But she didn't do that. She didn't have any plans of like, here's exactly what I'm going to do to cut the deficit. I mean, she had the child tax credit, but that was pretty much it. Like, everything else was like,
oh, the opportunity.
Yeah.
The opportunity. And when she first announced that, I was just like, isn't that Trump? Didn't Trump and Tim Scott do that? The opportunity stuff? Yeah. The opportunity zones for, like, is she just copying that stuff? Is she copying and pasting? Is this what's going on?
Yeah, well, she literally copied and pasted because they asked for a statement for her campaign. They checked the source code.
Oh, yeah.
Copy paste from
that's Biden right. I remember hearing that.
But also, like,
the Trump administration, not Biden.
No, Biden.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
But
Sorry.
a lot of her talking points are just things Trump has already said. Like, oh well, I want to bring back fracking, and it's like, yeah, Trump already said that. Like, everything she's proposing to do, it's like, yeah, your opponent is saying these things.
Mm-hmm.
What are you gonna do that's different? What are you gonna do that's unique? And that's where she really failed. It was, hey,
Yeah, she didn't really have any policy position of her
no,
own,
no,
and she did a very poor job of articulating that,
yeah,
which is why I said politically she won, because she avoided some of the pitfalls. Granted, she did step on landmines. Don't get me wrong. There was times. The whole your values have shifted.
mm-hmm.
That whole segment was absolutely detrimental to her,
Mm-hmm.
because her values have shifted.
Yeah.
She tried bringing it all the way back to when she was, since I was a young girl, and I'm like, no, like you can't be against fracking and then for fracking and say your values are the same. That
Right.
doesn't happen.
Right.
Your values have to adjust. And the sad part is, as a human, you know this, I know this, as we age, as we learn, as we grow,
Mm-hmm.
our values do shift.
But you have to bring people in on the process of that. That would be like if I just came in on the next episode and I was like, Harris 2024, I'm a Democrat now. You go, hey, how did you get there?
Yeah.
Like, okay, you were against fracking and now you're for it. What happened?
How'd you get there?
Yeah, this is a 180 from what you've said on a debate stage on national TV. So what happened? Oh, well, I did some more research, and here are the benefits of fracking that I actually didn't know about.
Yeah.
I've learned this, and this, and
Yeah.
actually some of the negative environmental factors, they're offset by anything.
Yeah.
Would have been good, but just to pretend like you never, not only pretend like you never said it, but actually deny that you ever said it, and it's like, we got the tapes, though,
Mm-hmm.
so...
And the funny thing is like she's sitting there, my values have always been the same. And I'm just like, we know that's false. Your values will shift, which is fine. You can actually hold the same value and change your stance on fracking. I think that's actually very, very valuable, true. Because let's say your value is environmental, right? I value having a strong environment. And then you start doing more research into fracking, you realize that, hey, some of the benefits that fracking does actually offsets any of these issues. So you're still maintaining my value of environment. So the simple fact that she couldn't articulate anything or admit that her value could have changed, that like, hey, while I'm against domestic oil, our economy is hurting a little bit, and I'm shifting my focus to value our economy to help the American people. That would have been a very reasonable reason why you would have switched your stance on fracking.
Right.
And most people probably would have actually been endeared to her. Like, hey, you're thinking about us.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Instead, she wants to lie and say, I've always been for fracking. No, you haven't. Don't lie.
Yeah, again...
I guess she is true to her values. She values lying. Oh, well, sorry.
Well, and again, I go back to she did a good job seeming like a normal person in general, but the specifics were missing, like you said.
Yeah.
Like she didn't have any specific positions that
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, okay. And even if I disagree, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But she did all the mudslinging. He actually didn't do any mudslinging. She tried character attacks. She tried saying
100%.
all this stuff about him. Oh, well, he was found guilty of this, and the impressive thing was he didn't get too hung up on the cases. He rebutted them, but he didn't spend too much time on them. He hit them, and then he was like on to the next thing.
Hold on, I do want to correct.
Attacks against her.
I want to correct you though, because he did do character attacks against her on a couple occasions. And one of them was, she's not smart enough to do it.
Yeah, that's not a character attack. It's just a true statement of fact.
Yeah, I mean,
that saying somebody's incompetent is not a character attack. Attacking character is where I think you have ill intentions and you're being deceptive or you're being manipulative. Just saying, hey, she's just not smart enough to figure it out. That's not necessarily a character attack. It's more of a, you're don't chalk up to what is it?
malice.
Malice.
What you mean to incompetence? Yeah.
So
I don't.
saying somebody's not smart isn't a character attack. It's not a character flaw.
I would actually tend to agree with you that I don't necessarily know if I would view it as that. However, the reason I say it's a character attack is most people will view it as a character attack. It doesn't matter what we think.
But she's proven her. Again, what was I impressed with the debate? She sounded like a normal human who could for a full hour. She is stupid. That's if she was very smart, then it would have seemed more like a character attack. I think.
Okay.
But for me, I was just like.
But
I was like, congratulations, you were on TV and didn't totally screw it up. Like.
I hear what you're saying. I'm not fully there. I see it. I'm just not fully there.
But you said that your expectations of her were super low.
I know, but
why is that? It's because she's not.
But I guess I'm trying to step out of my own eyes on this one and say like the reason I feel that this could be a character, the reason I say that this is a character attack, is because people are going to feel that way about it. Donald Trump being the big bad man telling her that she is not smart enough to do the job. I understand it. I think you understand it. I'm just trying to step back out of that.
Right, but as far as actual character, she was the one impugning his character for most of the evening.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, 100%. But
so
I'm just saying that there were occasions where Trump did go after her, but they were very minor in comparison. Not like he did with like Hillary, and not like he did with Joe.
Right.
100% different.
Well, and I think that that's fair because I don't know. I don't know about Kamala's character. I haven't seen anything, but with Hillary and Joe, there's provable stuff.
Well,
that they're not only lacking in
didn't we talk about this?
But they legitimately are actually criminals.
Did we not talk about Kamala's time as Attorney General of California?
Right. We touched on that. But as far as what she has done versus what Joe Biden and what Hillary.
Oh yeah, she's way down here compared to the crimes they've committed. Yeah, 100%. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry, I wasn't understanding. Yeah. I thought you meant like she hasn't. I'm like, what? No, I'm pretty sure we've talked about this.
No. but her character flaws are so much less, and so that's why I think a quick jab and get it out of there is fine. And again, what matters? It matters what people think, and it isn't what the Republican voter thinks. It's not what the Democrat voter thinks because they're already locked in. What did you say?
It's the independents.
The independent voter. And again, it doesn't matter what the political pundits say. The political pundits are like, oh, well, I think she won. I think she did a great job. Okay, great. What does the average independent voter think? They think that she lost the debate. And that's really what matters. Public perception is greater than the political pundits. And unfortunately, and this might be a sign of idiocracy coming to us, but cat memes are more important than what the political pundits think right now. Nobody's taking their cues from ABC News and CNN, and nobody is taking their cues. Guess what the next generation is doing? Cat memes.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, Trump's gonna protect your pets. Like, that stuff hits harder than, oh, well, here's what a CNN correspondent said. Nobody cares. Because they've made themselves a laughingstock.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Trump has done a great job of making sure that they look like a laughingstock. He doesn't even say it anymore, but his fake news, that's the resounding clip. Everybody thinks of them as fake news now. I haven't heard him say fake news on the campaign trail at all yet, but the public perception is you guys are fake news, and they didn't help themselves during COVID. So his rhetoric has been so powerful, he's torn down the media industrial complex that held America captive for the last 120, 150 years. And he took them all down with, you're fake news, and now it's gone. The power of hypnosis.
The funny thing that you're doing is, I agree with you, he's not saying it.
Yeah.
He no longer has to say it.
Exactly.
He created the movement, and the movement's full force. Yeah. So he no longer has to say it. However, he's not the one that originated that statement. Who did? Mainstream media actually used it against him. He took it, co-opted it, and fired it back at him.
Yeah, well, they what did they say about him? They said something was fake.
Yeah.
I don't. Did they use fake news?
No. Yeah. He was saying they basically came out and saying like he's using fake news.
Oh, I gotcha.
Like the stories he was saying was not real.
Oh,
He's using fake news.
because it
So,
was like
so he took it and
because
flipped
it
it back
was,
on him and like, no, you're fake news. And it stuck in it. I mean,
yeah.
everyone sees the results. I mean, independent media is on the rise, and it's for a very good
Oh,
reason.
absolutely. Yeah.
I was trying to find quick polls, but here, let's look at the Epoch Times.
They are a bit of a biased source, but that's okay.
They are biased towards the right, aren't they?
Yes.
Um, no, I'm not screen. I'm not sharing the
Not on
screen.
screen. Okay.
No.
I was like, oh, it's just an email address.
Yeah. What the heck? They want me to sign in. Yeah, I'm not gonna pay for that. I didn't want to use CNN or MSNBC. Like Newsweek, charts show why Kamala Harris won the debate. Well, we already know that it's early polls say Kamala Harris. Like Taylor Swift got supported Harris after that one. I should have freaking found out that pulled up the.
The problem is every single one of these is left.
Yeah.
Al Jazeera, yeah.
I'm trying.
The Guardian, like there's nothing here that's not hardcore left.
Yeah. So let's go to someone that's a little bit. Why is it not pulling? Here it is. Let's use. I know they're going to say it's not. They like to say he's on the right, but
Right.
Tim Cast actually is very independent.
He leans right, I would say, but he will be able to like pull up a poll and go, hey, this thing says Kamala's going to win. Why do we think that is? Hey, this poll says Trump's going to win. Why do we think that is?
Yeah.
And so he's able to kind of parse that out a little bit.
Well, he's trying to have a unbiased view. And the funny thing is he's actually more liberal than most. Dang.
I wouldn't even necessarily say he's more liberal. I think he's definitely more right leaning. It's just he is the one issue that he kind of doesn't care about that most Republicans do is the abortion issue.
Well,
But on everything else, he
He-
pretty much leans right.
he leans modern right, but he's not a true conservative. But the only reason he leans right so much now is because the left has gone so far left. He's now right, but he's not really
But
on the.
that makes him right.
But he's not a conservative. That's what I'm trying to say. He's a classical liberal.
Right, but he leans right.
I understand what you're trying to say. I just hate it.
Every position, he's like, yeah, Trump's better at this.
Well,
yeah, Trump's better at this. And the one thing he says I don't care about is abortion. But everything else, he's like, yeah, no, Trump's better. Yeah, no, Trump's better. So that's where I say he leans right.
I understand why you're saying that.
Well, that's the thing is if the left has gone far left, then the middle isn't where the middle is anymore.
Yeah. Did it? Whatever. Let's
I don't know. Let's see now.
scan the news. Tim Cast owns it. Ooh, what's Libby Evans, the Millennial Post. You know what I'm talking about? Is it the Millennium? Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to find a good source.
Yeah.
I was looking at polls. I was just hoping to find an article that kind of broke it down for us so we didn't have to look at the raw data. But the raw data shows that the independents lean Not heavily. That's the thing. Don't say when I say like Trump won because he won against independent voters. I think he won like 58-49 or something like that. Like it was not like a huge like 80% to 19 or something like that. No, it was actually fairly close. But he still ended up getting more of the independent voters, which is the important thing because those are going to be the ones deciding the election ultimately.
If they turn out, that again goes back to how many independent voters are actually going to show up because everybody talks about, well, we got to get the independent vote. Some of those independents aren't actually, a lot of those independents aren't showing up. Just like we talked about it last week, the Christian conservative vote isn't showing up. 75% of Christian conservatives don't show up to vote, and that's just statistically true. And if Christian conservatives, even if they got to half of them showing up to vote, it would be a landslide for quite a while until there was a culture shift. But basically, the laziness, and I'm calling you out, Christians, the laziness of Christians standing on their values who don't show up to vote is why this country is where it is. Your lack of responsibility when it came to standing up against Roe v. Wade and all sorts of stuff for the last 50 years, 60 years, is why we are where we are. Because, I don't want to get involved in politics, or, I'm just trying to live my life. It's like, yeah, you're a steward of this country, and that includes voting. That includes making sure that righteous people are voted in and unrighteous people are voted out. And if you don't stand firm on your morals, you know what? You deserve what you get. So you complain about Biden all you want. You complain about who's in power. Show up and vote, and then you can talk about it. But until then, we should pray. We believe in prayer. We're different than most people. However, if you're going to be thoughtful enough to pray about it, you should show up to the booth and let your voice be heard, because we are representatives of Christ here on this earth. And if you're not going to do your due diligence to vote and do your civic response, well, you know what? You're going to have to do a lot more praying against the person who got in because you didn't do what you were supposed to do in the first place.
That kind of actually ties into the argument that I have against why they're going to withhold their vote from Trump this time, because he's not as pro-life as they want him to be. That makes no sense.
Well, and that was that one, was it Lila Rose?
I think, yeah.
And again, what are you going to do by abstaining? And I railed against that. You're going to allow people who had abortion bans at their rally, you're going to allow that party to come into power? Knock it off.
Yeah. I mean, the argument just doesn't make sense. It's like you're going to have to do so much more because you decided to do so little to begin with. It makes no sense.
Yeah, you're going to make it easier for babies to get murdered because you disagree with somebody. Cool. That's a great look for the pro-life movement. Like, what are you doing? Quit being a child and vote for the person that most reflects your values.
Do you like Turning Point USA? Charlie Kirk?
I don't catch a ton of his stuff. Nothing wrong with it, but I don't know. I get kind of tired of the. I'm gonna have a debate with a bunch of college students and see how it goes. It's like, man, I could twist a college student up in knots. No offense, young people out there, but that kind of stuff I'm done with. But some of their stuff is good.
So I was perusing YouTube, and I just happened to come across Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk debating 20 leftist college students, right? And I was like, okay, it's kind of overplayed, but I'm just like, I've never seen him go up against that many at one time. And it was interesting how they set it up. And I was thinking, basically there's a table in the middle, and they got the 20 college students sitting around them, and they have 20-minute timer on the table, and they pick a topic. And whoever gets up and gets to the chair first gets to talk. Right. And then everyone else around the circle has like these flags or something. They hold it up. And if 11 flags come up, then that person has to go sit back down, and then they restart who runs. So they're changing out the debaters. So you can listen to the debate going on, and if you disagree with them and you want to, or whatever. And they did this, and I'm like, this actually kind of seems like an interesting topic, right? Because Charlie Kirk didn't go to college.
Right.
I don't agree with Charlie Kirk on a lot of these things. However, I do recognize that he's a fairly articulate person, and he's fairly knowledgeable. Just because he didn't go to college doesn't mean he's not smart. Just because he didn't go to college doesn't mean like he's actually a very smart individual. But what I thought was most important about this, or what I liked about it, was the fact that I already know Charlie's stance on a lot of these things. However, getting to see some of these other kids' perspective, even if it's on something I don't agree with. I don't agree with Charlie's and I don't agree with theirs, but it's very interesting. There was this one guy who was talking about sentience and making the sentience argument, and I'm just like, that's actually very well articulated, young man. I think you're an idiot, but it kind of makes sense. Good job. You know.
Yeah.
So anyway, you were just making me think of that.
Yeah.
Way off on a tangent.
No, you're good. I've people in their early to mid 30s talking to 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. I'm sorry. We've had more time to think these things through. We've had more time to see how these things play out in the real world and in work and life and marriage and family. It just, it's almost an unfair fight. You're still trying to figure out who you are at that time. So,
Yeah.
hey, think about these great deep philosophical things. Okay, well, am I supposed to do that on top of trying to work to pay my tuition and also taking 22 credits and all? No diss to the young people out there, but you're still trying to figure out life. And so that's where, like, a lot of the gotcha stuff, especially with Ben Shapiro, is like, oh, owned with the Thug Life classes. Yeah, that was cool in 2016 to 2018, and I just kind of, for me, I was like, I'm kind of good on that because not to say better than, but my intellect and how I think is vastly different than when I was in my very early 20s and
Mid 20s.
And so yeah, and I love when you're able to see different perspectives, but I want to see people who are critical thinkers and heavyweights in the opposite sides of the arena squaring off, rather than a college student versus somebody who's been on Joe Rogan, or somebody who's very comfortable behind a microphone with cameras on them. Even that alone could be enough to make an 18-year-old go, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It can be overwhelming.
Well, you just kind of made me think of Fresh and Fit.
Right.
And I'm not trying to disparage them in any way, shape, or form. I was actually just sitting here thinking, like, because while I have some stuff that I agree with them, I have some things I disagree with them, and you basically expressed the same thing. And it just popped in my head, like, I think we would actually do a very good conversation with them, bringing up the differences. And it's not necessarily, in my mind, yes, it's going to be a debate because we are both coming at it from different sides of things. However, I respect them, and I think they're knowledgeable enough, and I think we're knowledgeable enough. I think the conversation would actually enhance, like, bring people forward rather than... Whereas I've seen some debates, and I'm tying this back to the TPS in the Charlie Kirk going against the college students, because it doesn't really advance anything. It's just, okay, I'm hearing that perspective, getting new perspective on certain things, but you're not articulate enough. You're not well versed enough, and you're not doing a great job of advancing the conversation. So yeah, it's really interesting. Going back to the debate. So was it Michigan or Ohio with the dogs and cats?
Springfield.
Ohio, right? Yeah. The simple fact that he brought that up, and they tried fact checking it, and we checked with the county, whatever, or the city, yeah, or whatever. Then they said that doesn't happen. Well, the guy on TV said it did. And I'm just like, it doesn't matter if the city is denying it. There's media reports saying it's happening.
What city is going to go, yeah, they're totally eating dogs? No, everybody. No, that's not happening.
No, 100% not. But so the simple fact that he brought that up, and he brought that onto the national level, he made it into a freaking meme.
Right.
I mean, the simple fact that we've now, this is our third or fourth time getting back to it, shows how important that cultural issue actually is.
Yeah,
now, and the reason I'm going back to it is I'm going back to it because it ties back to Trump's whole platform on the immigration. And what you had said was he tried going back to the immigration too much.
He tried tying every issue back to it. Now, look, it's very important, and I think where it fits, definitely bring it up. But it felt like almost every response was immigration, and I'm like, it's it's fair, but let's not hit it over the head too much because you're gonna make people fatigued with it, and it is a very important issue. That's a winner for him, and so
It is a winner for him. And see, and I'm trying to understand. This is why I'm going back to it. Is you're saying like he tried tying everything back to immigration?
Yeah.
I didn't see him trying to tie.
Six different answers he brought back to immigration, and only one of the questions was about immigration.
Okay, that's not necessarily tying to it though. That's redirecting to a more important issue, possibly. That's how I viewed it. Is he like there was one topic where it was like
like back into it. Like, hey, this is the economy. Oh well, let me bring up. Hey,
but the economy does tie directly into immigration. Those two do tie directly together.
Yeah, but let's focus on the failed economic policies rather than immigration.
And
like,
one of those policies, those is the unchecked illegal immigration.
I understand that, but the biggest thing isn't just the immigration.
No,
They have 5 or 6 other contributing factors that have nothing to do with immigration.
Keystone Pipeline,
Yeah.
But he did bring all those up as well.
But again, I go back to he kept bringing it up, and if you're going to bring it up when it comes to immigration, and if you're going to bring it up, he brought it up during abortion, where they were talking. He brought.
But that was a smart play by him, though.
But again, I go back to, I got tired of him talking about it. I'm on his side, and I'm like, I don't care anymore. I'm done with you talking about immigration over and over. Look, Trump, I got it.
But is he strong on abortion though?
Immigration's important. However, I don't want to hear you bring it up every single response.
However, the question to you is he strong on abortion? Does he have a strong abortion stance? No, he does not.
No.
He cannot satisfy the right, and he cannot satisfy the left.
He can satisfy the left. Because he says, I'm not going to do a national abortion ban. That is his way to satisfy the left.
Well, granted, according to the two people hosting and Kamala, he's going to ban it.
Well,
but
she also said he was directly tied to Project 2025, and he's like,
well, that was the third one. Yeah.
I've never read it. What are you talking about?
He did good there. What I'm saying is Trump's weakest issue is going to be on abortion. He is not going to get support on the left. He's not going to get support on the right.
But he can get support on the left with that.
He could, but then he would have to sacrifice. But he would have to sacrifice.
But he's already ticked off everybody he's going to tick off on the right with it.
Well, that's a fair stance. That's a fair point.
He can at least go, hey, look, I'm not. They're claiming I'm this extremist. I'm not going there with it.
But he did say that he's not going to sign it.
Right.
That he can't sign it.
Right. But that's where I go back to. Okay, cool. Let's not bring immigrant, and he brought it in.
But I guess I view it completely different because he is so weak on abortion because he cannot talk about it without. It was a smart ploy to go back to one of the two top issues Americans have, which is immigration. He could have gone back to economics. He could have gone back to the economy.
Yes.
I 100% agree with you there. But I don't think he did bad by going back to immigration.
But the problem is when you have one or two issues and that's all you hit on, and they're talking about 10 different issues, and you're going to you harp on the one or the two, it's like, okay, we got it. But now, okay, let's say we have a second debate. Now what are you going to bring up? You've already exhausted the crap out of it. I'm done hearing about immigration. Look, we all know that it's a failure. You don't have to hit those things so hard.
But I don't think he's talking to the people on the right.
He's talking to everybody.
He's catering this to the independent, unsure voters, which I have no idea who's unsure.
But that's just it. If you hit it so hard that every single thing goes back to immigration, I guarantee I'm on the right and I agree with him. And I got frustrated because I'm done hearing about it. If somebody who agrees with him is done hearing about it, I guarantee you a lot of people who are independent are going to go, okay, man, I heard you talk about immigration.
That's interesting because you are a Trump supporter. I am not a Trump supporter. Yeah. And I actually thought he did good, and you're telling me he's doing bad. So that's
he didn't do bad. He just let it go.
See, but
tie it in where it belongs, but don't tie it into every single topic.
I'm gonna go back to that in a second. What I'm getting at is you are a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
I'm not. You're saying that you were fed up with hearing it. I'm saying I wasn't. I'm more of an independent leaning. I'm undecided whether or not I'm even going to vote for Trump. I know I'm not voting for Kamala, but I'm probably going to vote third party, like I typically do. And I'm saying, like, I think the people that he's speaking to are people more like me. And that resonated more with me. So in my mind, I'm assuming that's resonating more with the independents. as well.
I mean, if you want to hear about immigration every time he opens his mouth, then
But he
I
didn't
mean,
say it every time he opened his mouth. I think he hit it on 6 topics,
yes,
and if I'm not mistaken, 4 of the 6 actually directly tie with immigration: foreign policy, economics,
yes.
immigration.
Foreign policy is fine.
Yeah, foreign policy, immigration, economics. What was the? There's one more that ties directly into immigration that they talked about, and I thought it was fine. The ones that didn't were abortion and I think oil production.
Yeah.
I think those were the 2 that he tied back to immigration that didn't make
He
sense.
said it so much, I don't even remember. It's all just
But,
immigration. I'm just like, okay, man.
but if I remember right, I agreed with the abortion one because it got him off a weak topic onto a strong topic. But when he did it on the oil one, it made no sense to me because I'm just like, dude, you're strong on the oil. What the hell are you doing?
But again, the abortion one, you keep saying he's weak on. No, he isn't. Because he's appealing to the independent and the leftist. He's saying, I'm not going to ban it. He is saying, look, I'm done letting the federal government decide what to do. I kicked it back to the states. That was my only goal, and we did it. Mission accomplished on that.
And he articulated that, and it was a fair point.
Absolutely.
But
and if he could just stay on that, and also if he would have said, hey, look, she's over here saying I'm trying to cut down IVF. I literally just a week ago announced my big rollout for IVF. Like, he had so many other things he
could
now if he was huge pro-life
mm-hmm.
and said I will be signing a nationwide abortion ban, that would be a losing topic for him.
Yeah.
But it's not. He actually wins on this if he continues to let his policy be known. Because he's already got the right in the bag.
See, you remember how you were
agree with him on that, but it's the independent and the leftist where it's like, hey, just so you're aware, this is not my stance. I'm not trying to get abortion rights taken away. What I'm trying to do is make sure that children have the right to live after a certain point.
So you remember how we were talking about Kamala not articulating how her values or how her stance could change? Right. I'm about to articulate that you just changed my mind, and I'll tell you exactly why.
Okay.
Because I'm sitting here thinking, okay, he's weak on abortion, and the reason he's weak on abortion is because he should be trying to appeal to the right. I didn't think about his appeal to middle America.
Yes.
And you brought it up, you showcased it. That is why I'm changing my thought pattern on this one now. He is stronger on abortion than I give him credit for. That's interesting.
Yeah. And again, I go back to those of us on the right, really, like, again, I go back to, we're never going to get the federal abortion ban anyway. And that's not what it's about. What it's about for us, it's like, okay, we won. We got rid of something that was enshrined in federal law that gave free murder of a child in the womb to anybody. And it's like, okay, let's let states decide. Okay, great. Now your local community, your local government can decide that, and that's who you vote in and vote out. Because we can't do anything about, the people who are in Congress. They're almost untouchable. We can't do much if we vote in a Republican-leaning president. If we vote in a Republican-leaning president and he signs nationwide abortion ban, okay, great. So the next time we get a Democrat in, nationwide unabortion ban. Okay, next time and so
it's just going to go back and forth. Yeah. No.
Where we can be impactful is in our local government, in our towns, in our cities, in our states.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where it's like, hey, vote in people who reflect your values at the local level. And so that's really we cannot get it to where all of the nation's going to agree on this, and we're not going to get it to the point where we're going to keep people from having sex. So let's get it to the place where, hey, let's at least be mindful of the life of the child in the womb. And if you don't like where you live, move to somewhere that agrees and aligns more with your values.
You brought up an interesting point, and I wanted to let you finish.
Sure.
I was going to interrupt you because you said we can't control anything when it comes to Congress, which is not technically true. We can. It's called
the guillotines.
Bring back the guillotines.
That would fix a lot of problems in Congress.
Was I telling you about like how I wish they would actually bring back duels, like a gentleman's duel?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Like I think that would help out a lot.
Right.
Like bring back a gentleman's duel.
Yes. What did you say? say? You besmirched my mother? Yes. Yeah.
Crap, man, I lost my train of
Sorry.
thought. No, you're good. Oh, yeah. Okay. So there's two ways, really, you can go about doing this. First, I need to ask you a question. Do you believe in repealing the 19th? We covered the 19th Amendment, right?
What was that?
Or was that Void and I that covered the 19th?
I don't think we...
There's a movement in the United States, actually headed up by women, that want to repeal the 19th Amendment. The 19th Amendment is
the language in it.
No, because they don't believe women should have the right to vote.
Oh, yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
That it's led by women.
Yeah.
Granted, the whole opposition to the 19th Amendment was led by women. Men were the ones that wanted to give women the right to vote. Yep, men are the sexist ones that want to oppress women.
Yeah.
Weird how that happens. Whatever. Men are just the cause of everything. Just saying.
I believe in a woman's right to choose to not let women vote.
I like that. Okay, and then what's the? I think it's the 21st. Shit, I don't.
Is that the one that has the language? Because there's one of them that has language about sentient life or something to that effect.
Oh, that's the 14th, I
That's
believe.
the 14th. Okay.
I believe it's the 14th.
21st, yeah.
I think the 21st is the one that actually screws up the Congress thing.
What's that?
So it used to be, the original Constitution used to set it up where the people directly voted for their representative in the House of Representatives. And then they voted for their state legislators. The state legislators then selected the senators to represent this in the Senate.
Right.
Because the whole purpose, the bicameral chamber is supposed to be one for the people, one for the state. That's the two houses. The House of Representatives controls the purse because it's the people's money. And the Senate is the ones that are supposed to be able to put checks and balances against the House for the purposes of what's important for the state. I believe it's the 21st Amendment. I'm going to have to do some research, and if you guys can check it out and drop comments and correct me, that'd be great. Actually got rid of it, where the senators now became direct voting versus a state. So my question to you is, do you believe we should swap back to having the senators being elected by or being chosen by the state legislators?
I don't know. I think ultimately something has to change, and we talked about term limits before, but something has to change with the Senate. I think the House, there's enough controlled chaos there where I think the House is kind of its own entity.
Mm-hmm.
But the Senate itself is, just by definition, it is defunct of its actual function.
Yes, 100%.
It does not function the way it was intended to, which is we draw up bills for the good of not just the state but for the people, and we're going to put this forth as a collective group for our country, and we're going to put it forth for the president to take a look at and to either sign or veto, and then we can redraft and have that whole process happen. That doesn't happen anymore. Now the president's the one signing bills.
Executive order. Yeah, it's
completely flipped on its head.
Yep.
And they literally are dysfunctional in the fact that they do not function in the way that they were set up and intended to function.
Yep.
So
the Senate doesn't function.
That we can go about fixing that, I'm 100% for.
So the Senate is supposed to be a check and balance against the president, but it's also supposed to be a check and balance against the people as well, the House of Representatives. Same way as the House of Representatives is supposed to be a check and balance against the president and the Senate as well, right? There are only three branches of the government: the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. However, our legislative is broken out into two sections, and those two cambrals are supposed to check and balance against each other as well, and that is no longer happening. And I think one way to fix that is to get back to having the state legislators selecting the senators versus a direct vote.
Yeah, I don't know that it would necessarily reflect very differently.
Oh yeah, it will. 100% it will. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll let you finish. Sorry.
States where, like Idaho, doesn't matter.
100%. I'll agree with that.
In other states, it will make a difference, but it just sort of depends. Like like if your state votes 85% one way, yeah, you're kind of locked in there.
Yeah, California is always going to have two senators from the Democrats. Idaho's always going to have two senators from the Republicans. Where it's going to make the difference is the swing states that are sometimes swing Democrat, sometimes swing Republican, but usually their state houses or state legislators are usually Republicans or usually Democrats. That's where it's going to make the difference. I apologize. I should have let you finish your sentence. I thought you were like, it's not going to be. Yes, it is.
I kind of paused. It wasn't an intentional pause.
Yeah. But yeah, some states different, some states not. And the second way that we can actually fix this is by educating the populace in actually paying attention to their local elections and their representative elections, and stop going by party line.
Stop voting every 4 years.
Was it you and I that were having the conversation about the United States only having two parties?
I mean, we probably touched on it.
So someone was saying that to me, and I was like, no, there's like 10 or 12 different parties. And they're just like, oh, no, there's only two. And I'm like, well, there's two big ones that kind of control everything, but they're kind of, sort of, not technically, but kind of, sort of.
But the way it plays out, and, you might be able to, in an odd state, be able to get a third-party candidate elected.
Bernie. Wasn't Bernie an independent? That got it, that caucus with the Democrats, if I remember correctly.
But you could possibly get it there. But as far as positions of power, we do need some sort of an option that's kind of a more representative of the people that are kind of in the middle. That are like, look, I'm not putting undying loyalty to either party, but
if you can persuade me, I'd be willing to go along with you. That kind of person.
Honestly, if I had a vote in 96, what was it, 96? I would have voted for 96 or 92. I would have probably voted for like Ross Perot. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah. So speaking of that, so I remember this. This is my first taste of politics. I think I was in the third grade. I'm aging myself here. I think I was in the third grade. It might have been the fifth. Whatever. But our teachers, the entire school decided that they were going to let the children vote. So they introduced us to Ross Perot. They introduced us to Clinton, to all this stuff, right? So we all got to pay attention. And each class would vote. Whoever that won that class vote, the teacher would then go ahead and cast their vote for that class. So I remember voting Ross Perot in that one. So I'm going all the way back. I'm more of an independent-minded person.
Speaking of sound bites, do you remember the sound bite from Ross Perot?
I do not.
Oh, it was memed on Saturday Night Live by Dana Carvey. Before memes were a thing.
You're gonna have to remind me there, buddy. I'm trying.
Can't finish.
Oh.
Can't finish.
Oh my God, that's right. Yeah. Oh. And then to the libertarian ones, I mean, Rand Paul was kind of the godfather of that.
And honestly, I think he was way too ahead of his time. If he were to come out now, I think he would siphon off a
everyone
legitimate faction of voters. He was just too much too soon.
Oh, yeah.
And again, this is coming from somebody who voted Harry Brown in 04. But, I think there just wasn't enough people ready for it. And that's where I kind of go back to, I'm not trying to waste time. I'm not trying to throw my vote away. And I kind of learned a lot from voting for Harry Brown. I'm just like, you know what? Until it changes and until there's a real shift in the winds, I'm going to kind of stick to what I think is the lesser of the two evils. Especially as a Christian, I want to let my voice be heard. And, if I'm going to sit here and pray, well, I'm going to vote as well. And then from there, okay, the person I wanted got in, let's pray for them. Hey, the person I didn't want to get in, let's pray for them, because that's what we're called to do as Christians. But let's make life easy on ourselves by actually showing up.
And I like how you bring that up, because it does tie directly into the whole unity thing. Like when Trump got elected, not my president, and then when Biden got elected, he didn't govern like he was the president for everyone,
Right.
right? So it was interesting because Trump's trying to govern it with everyone's best interest, and everyone's sitting there saying, "Not my president."
Yeah.
Like half the nation, "Not my president."
Yeah.
And then it's weird because Biden wins. Sure, there's a lot of questionable stuff that happened, and a lot of people question whether or not he's legitimate, but they don't sit there and say, "Not my president."
Right.
But he governs like you guys don't matter.
Yeah.
So it's just very interesting.
Well, and it's funny because I was brainwashed, when Obama was president. I was like, yeah, every CNN, well, I saw it on the TV, so it has to be true. And ultimately, like, I was, oh, you disagree, you're racist. Oh, you just don't like him because he's a black man, and you're a country boy Southerner, and so no wonder you don't like him. But the more I look back historically at his policies and a lot of the rhetoric that he had, especially when it came to the Missouri town.
Yeah.
Why am I blanking on that?
Michael Brown.
Yes, and the town there.
I can't remember the name of the city.
Ferguson, yes. And I look back at that. That was the beginning of the division of us from American citizens to a lot of this stuff going on right now. And we're almost too late into the episode to get too deep into it.
Yeah.
But with historical lenses, I look back and I'm like, that is the dividing line where we went from Americans to you white people and us as black people. And again, being able to say, you guys are racist as a country, and it's like, you overwhelmingly won the vote. By all means, like, I would have voted for Obama's second term, absolutely.
I wouldn't have.
Just because, who did the Republicans have? Mitt Romney?
I wouldn't have voted for either of them.
Yeah.
But again, I don't like most Democrats, and I don't really care for most Republicans.
But again, I was part of the machine. I was brainwashed. No. They did a great job at it.
So it's interesting that you're bringing that up because they did track racial sentiment. They still do. And you could actually see racial sentiment actually getting stronger. Like unity was getting really well until Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin was the key factor. When Barack Obama came out and said he could have been my son and he disparaged the police, that's when racial tensions, you can actually see it on the graph. That's when racial tensions actually started to go the opposite way. Barack Obama is directly responsible for the racial tensions in the United States today, because race was not a thing until, or was continuing to drop out as a thing until Barack Obama brought it back up. And you are right, we're getting a little late in the episode. I just wanted to mention that part because you can go and check that one out. It's interesting. So, Kamala did better than you thought.
Yes.
Kind of a winner. Trump had some issues. Still kind of a winner.
One, I think he won where it counted.
Okay. So we're kind of in agreement. We both think they won for different reasons. I just hate saying that they both won because there really can't be two winners. But I mean, unfortunately, looking at it, breaking it down, there was things that Kamala did really well, and there's things that Trump did really well. Depending on the lens you're looking at it, both are winners, and I'm looking at it through all of it, trying to just get it best.
Yeah, nobody got dominated, but I look forward to this second one if they do a second one.
Supposedly they are.
I think it'll be great, and I think that's where the fireworks are going to really go off.
Oh yeah, I think Trump at this point was just kitty gloves.
Yep.
And now they're
going setting the tone.
Yep.
Knockout blows,
yeah. Her campaign was a little too young for him to come out just swinging. He just looked like a bully at that point.
Well, I'd argue he's got the younger campaign at this point with all of his social media. He has catered himself to the young voter.
Oh no! I'm sorry. What I'm saying, the younger campaign, I'm talking like age of existence of the campaign, not who. Yeah. The young voter is definitely more towards Trump right now.
Well, I guess technically you're right, because in order to have a campaign, you actually have to
win the primary.
Campaign, and she still hasn't done that. She still hasn't gone on TV, done the fluff interview. She has not.
Tampon Tim and her did an interview. Come on, man.
She has not gone out and said, "Hey, here I am. Here's what I represent. Come vote for." She has not campaigned one time. She was on TV once.
That's
she
true.
Has not
That's true.
Yet. So
well, didn't
you're
she?
Right. She had her campaign is younger because she has yet to even do it once.
Fair. I'm pretty sure she has held rallies. I don't think it's ever been covered in the media because I don't think it's ever been made a splash.
No, well, unless I'm completely unaware. Like the big knock on her was do something, go somewhere, like
Well, that's
present yourself.
but they're trying to keep her hidden because I think they're afraid that if she gets out there and she. Anyway, we're running long. Sorry, we can keep going on this forever, but ultimately, it's more or less what you guys already think. I mean, if you're a Trump supporter, you're going to think Trump won. If you're an independent, there's a good chance you think Trump won. If you're a Democrat, you're going to think Kamala won. And if you're an independent, you might think Kamala won. So, yeah.
And,
6 of one, half dozen of another.
Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of thing.
You're going to think like me.
I agree because I'm logical and I'm agreeing with you. So, all right, everyone, you guys have a good one. Thank you guys for tuning in. Till next time.